We had the best time doing the initial breakdown of the body language and behavior in this video, and we decided we'd revisit some of our favorite moments from it.
Tell me how this all happened.
I met Charlie, and things were going good. My mother and father didn't really like him.
Right.
And the first time he ever mentioned, that he wanted to kill my parents was, after Christmas, that he had gave me a ring, proposed to me, and my parents, didn't want us to.
And it was a promise ring, not an engagement ring, right?
Yes,
All right, Chase, what do you got?
This is a great way to start this off. Greg picked this clip. And I think it's wonderful that we're seeing from kind of the outset of this interview that Dr. Phil is matching her behavior. He's leaned forward. His hands are under the table, just like hers are. And he doesn't ask her a question. He gives her a command.
Tell me how this all happened.
And this is something that I tend to do in an interrogation room where I'm testing the compliance status or where that person is from on a compliance standpoint. And he gets a wonderful compliance from her. And I think he's careful not to use the word but in here. So he uses the word and instead of but, which is a wonderful tool for anybody that's communicating. When she's saying kill and parents,
he wanted to kill my parents.
I think she's forcing those words out. I'm sure you guys will talk about that and what that means. But I want to give you a quick fact about psychopaths. They are clinically proven not to be better at deception than the average person. They do it more often, but that doesn't make them better at it. There's 5 studies that say that they're better at verbal deception only, but once a nonverbal component is introduced or a polygraph, they do just about the same as everybody else. And you'll see where this is going here in the next few videos. Scott?
All right. Yeah, this is an excellent example of a psychopath. Everybody's always asking about him. This is a wonderful one because what we're seeing is she's trying to totally control her demeanor and her delivery with everything. And she's trying to deliver and show what she thinks a normal person looks like, what that normal behavior would be. But just by watching her, we know automatically something's not right here. That little feeling you get inside in your gut, that's telling you everything. You're not quite sure what it is yet. We're going to explain it to you why you feel that way. But you know something's wrong. So that control makes her talk at a specific volume. As we go through this, her baseline is this. When she's getting nailed for telling a lie and she doesn't want to say what it is, she almost doesn't say it. She'll move her mouth, but she won't say the words out loud. She whispers them. It's reminiscent of being a child and getting in trouble. When you get in trouble, you get real quiet and you don't say a whole lot because you don't know what's going to happen and you don't know how much to say. And her face is expressionless. We're going to see some great examples of where she mimics what she's heard other people say and use the expressions and the fake excitement that she's seen other people use. This is perfect for that. Again, I'm going to grab some stuff out of here and use it in training as well. The tone of her voice and the volume of her voice lets us know she's controlling that output and to what she believes is the right output to give in this situation. She's trying to seem respectful. She's trying to talk quiet to Dr. Phil. And he's, in person, he's a pretty big guy. He's a tall guy. And so that girl doesn't look, I don't know how tall she is, but with the pictures of seeing her dad, then having seen her dad walk out on that show, I don't think he's very tall. So he's almost towering over, but we'll see him at some point scooch down to get on eye level with her, which is a great move. The little smile she shows, it's sort of the joy to prove she has acceptance. She's smiling and she's hoping to be accepted. It's almost like the request for approval situation we have there. But that little smile we see, that's what her joy of proof of acceptance, as she talks about that. So, Greg, what do you got?
So a couple of things. Yes, psychopaths are a couple of things we know about psychopaths as well. Now I'll quote a study or a time frame. 2018, Cardiff and Swansea universities did a study, and the one thing that they found interesting is that pupil dilation, which we do when we see a good thing or when we see a dangerous thing, only occurs in psychopaths when they see good things or whatever makes them happy. When there's fear, a fear-inducing thing, no dilation. That's an interesting thing. Watch this girl's eyes throughout all this stress. Watch her pupils. I kept looking for it. Like, hey, hopefully there's some pinpointing and nope, nothing. That's number one. She's braced. She's leaned in that chair. She's got her feet against the legs of the chair. She's got her arms between and under the table so she can move her hands without you seeing them. And she makes eye lock. We'd usually call the romancer, I'll call this the creeper. There's nothing, she's not paying positive attention to you. She's paying all attention to you. And she's focused on him like crazy. I always say the organism does what made the organism successful. This girl, this has been what she's done with her parents, what she's done with authority, the yes, sir. She's doing front of the mouth talking. And I don't use this very often on here, but when people are being contrite, that front of the mouth talking, when they're angry, the back of the mouth talking, the power, listen to it. She's contrite. She's trying to make him fall for whatever it is she does. Now, I'm also going to tell you that people can rationalize all kinds of things in their head. I've talked to terrorists who rationalize what they've done, or to bad guys who rationalize what they've done because they feel like they're justified in doing it. Might be some of that going on in this girl's head. Don't know. I'm not trying to put into her head what's there. But I feel, when I'm sitting across the table from somebody like this, I feel a facade because it's locked down, it's tight, everything's gripped. Her body language is all controlled. And usually when I see that, there's a lot of something boiling inside that person I'm talking to. So what you're trying to do is find that little facade crack every now and then. And I think that smile is a crack. I think when she is busted, she does it. We're going to see later in here, there's one line of baseline for her with her friends. When she says something like, I think we've already established that. That's her normal speech pattern. We're not going to see it any other time through here, I think. And I think she's locked down. She's eye locked. You know what her blink rate is on my page? Her blink rate is yesterday she blinked. She hasn't blinked in this whole damn thing. The only time she blinks is for eye blocking. And very specifically, Chase, I love what you pointed out, she tells with emphasis, kill my parents. And when she does, she doesn't just do that. Her eyelids go, kill my parents.
Kill my parents.
It is telling. It's powerful. And then as she talks about the guy was proposing to her, her lips come forward in a condemning kind of a purse. And then her eyes block again. And then she talks about her boyfriend. Her chin rises slightly as if she's indignant. Sides of her mouth are down, and that's anger. And then that slight smile at the promise ring. All that is not congruent body language for, I feel bad about what happened to my parents. The emphasis is in all the wrong places, or as you would say in language, emphasis on the wrong syllable. That kind of thing always means something to me. So I see a mess. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, so agree with everything that I've heard there. Let me add a few more things. When she talks about her parents didn't like him, we get a drawing of breath.
My mother and father didn't really like him.
Right.
Why do you draw air in? Because you're going to do something. There's going to be some action is going to happen, okay? Yet she doesn't move. She really is locked down there. But we see the psychology of the parents didn't like him. Something had to be done, okay? So we see the action happening. She doesn't move. She's locked down. Sometimes people don't move very much because their prefrontal cortex is damaged in some way. She's a pianist, actually, when I found out. She plays piano. So her prefrontal cortex in terms of the motor is going to be pretty good. So that's not why she's so still. Totally agree. Dr. Phil mirroring really well there. Clearly purposeful. Lowering his physical status as well. A good technique to use there. She's calm. The calmness is definitely hers. That's her personality. Pretty dangerous personality, but the calm belongs to her. The voice and the demeanor, I would suggest throughout, is childlike. To Greg's point, that I believe is a persona that she puts on because it gets her what she wants. The more she acts like a child, the more compliance she gets from people around her. On propose.
You know, after Christmas, he had gave me a ring, proposed to me, and my parents, didn't want us to.
I think that is a slow blink of acceptance. And what it's to say is, and that's final. I think it's a slow blink of finality. This kind of personality deals with final solutions, final ideas. He proposed, then it's done. The parents don't like that. Well, we need a final solution around that then. So great introduction in that first short clip there. So much going on. Let's see what we've got coming next. I'm done with that one.
All right.
What I think is funny here, guys, is this one, if you just look at it for face value, when people say, where is body language? A lot of people would just look and go, yeah, I'm not going to watch that. There's nothing. But when you really look, wow.
Right. Well, the very fact that nothing's happening, she's not moving.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Tell me how this all happened.
I met met Charlie, and things were going good. My mother and father didn't really like him.
Right.
And the first time he ever mentioned, that he wanted to kill my parents was, after Christmas, that he had gave me a ring, proposed to me, and my parents, didn't want us to.
And it was a promise ring, not an engagement ring, right?
Yes.
The other three say they were trying to get you to run away, but that you emphatically insisted that your family be killed. That's what they all say. Isn't that the truth?
All right, I'll go first on this one. This is pretty scary. I mean, the music behind it's pretty scary. But when you look at this girl and she looks up that slowly like that, holy smokes. And that's what I'm talking about. Where it looks like a robot. We're seeing a little micro expression here too. I think she's trying to hold back a smile. I think she's trying to push her mouth down so she doesn't smile. This is creepy stuff here. And those eyes, those blinks are real slow. This is what I'm talking about. Something's not right in there. Something's not firing correctly or fully with her. It matches her intellect, I think, at this point, because I don't think it's all running shiny and everything as well. So I think there's not a whole lot to say from my perspective on that, except for I think she's trying to hide a smile in there. We'll see that a couple other times too. All right, Greg, what do you got?
I think this girl is a ball of anger, a real ball of anger that's just been contained, and that's the relationship she has with the organism, whether it's her parents or school or whatever. I'll bet when she's with her friends, she's chatty Cathy. She's one of those kind of folks. I think she's a lot more animated than we see here. I think this is the organism has learned how to deal with authority or whatever authority is, and she's balled up in there. And that crack, I think what you're seeing, Scott, is a crack in that. Yeah, I mean, that anger is I think that's the emotion she has, is anger. That's what I sense in her. And it's just sense. I see little forehead involvement, her eyes closed when he says that. It's what they all say. She does a close and she doesn't do much of that. I've interrogated people like this before, and they seem calm until you touch the right button. And then the next thing you know, you're defending yourself because they come across the table, they come unbuckled. I don't think this girl, I think her whole life, she's that tall. I think her whole life, she's probably not been that violent person, and she found a way to be that violent person. So that's what I see. When he's talking to her and he's looking down at the notes, watch her. She focuses on that. She's focused on the notes. The notes are the bad guy, not him. She doesn't even say anything this time. She does that front of mouth talking, trying to assuage him so that or calm him down so he doesn't come after her. I just think she's a ball of horrible stuff inside there. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, Greg, I totally agree with you. I think we're going to see some of this later, but what I think we're seeing here is that she's learned to use power by proxy over the course of her life. And I think the shift in Phil's demeanor here to become more paternal, more serious, finger down on the table, has caused some of this regression and this kind of upward eyebrow movement, this innocent voice, innocent appearance is literally what kept her safe probably growing up, and literally what she used to wield her power growing up. I teach 4 laws of human behavior. The number 4 law of my 4 laws is that every adult is a product of childhood suffering and reward. So she used that behavior to get out of suffering and to gain some kind of reward in her family life and her social life. And I think this is as good as it gets. This is an amazing clip that, Scott, I was going to go into that stare, and you described it a lot better than I probably could have. But keep in mind, there's no positive denial when he's asking the question. I think Phil was a little bit to do with this regression, but we see the beginnings of another hallmark psychopathy trait here, and this is in the official book, is called PIM, or positive image management. And this positive image management, she doesn't care about committing the crime. She wants you to know that it was someone else's idea. And she's still a good person. She's the type of person who will forget her shoes, but not her little dog. And she's going to pet the dog the whole time on the way out. So this is positive image management is what we're seeing here. Mark?
Yeah, so I think we see a couple of things happen here. I think the slow blink, again, is acceptance. I think that is her acceptance of the idea put forward, that she was more involved than she's saying she is, and that Dr. Phil's accusations are correct. Now, he has become an accuser at this point. He's become a persecutor. She now, because, you know, there's only one real place for her to go, which is to become the victim. I mean, she could start to persecute back, but that's not the role that's ever got her what she wants. So she reverts back to childlike innocence, and we see that with the eyebrow raise. She lowers herself. She looks up to Dr. Phil's eye line so she can make him the dominant male and her the subordinate female and child, and therefore cause us, the viewers, and potentially Dr. Phil to go, oh, but it's just an innocent child. Why would she do anything? And to Greg's point earlier on, I think that's the role that has often got her what she's got. To Chase's point, it's got her away from the punishment, and it's got her some prizes at some time. Now, it appears from her background, I hadn't really investigated this hugely, so you know, you can put in the comments there how incorrect I am. It appears from the little background that I looked into that though everybody's house can have all kinds of dramas going on, potentially, and she says it herself, her house was not full of a lot of drama for her. Often we find in a sociopath that they are kind of created by the environment around them. And so looking into her environment around her, it seems kind of okay. She said herself it was pretty nice, though why would we believe her? Maybe we shouldn't. So really it does edge her towards there being something fundamentally different about the way her brain is structured, not a result of society and therefore sociopathic, having a disorder that is troubling to other people. That's the thing about antisocial behavioral disorders. They're antisocial because everybody else doesn't like them, you know, and that's why the DSM, I mean, great book, but often it has to change because for example, you know, narcissism, you know, looking at your own image quite a lot. Well, hang on, we do that with our phones all the time. So as society changes, we have to adapt our ideas of what behavioral disorder is. But this one doesn't change too fundamentally, I would say. That's what I got for you on that one.
The other three say they were trying to get you to run away, but that you emphatically insisted that your family be killed. That's what they all say. Isn't that the truth? Tell me what you think I mean when I say, if you don't come clean and be completely honest, that you're never going to heal from this and that your father's never going to heal from it.
People say my dad just wants to brush things under the rug, so to speak, and say that, you know, his daughter didn't know nothing about this. And that's, I mean, I think we've established I did know. But, you know, he says, you know, my daughter did not mastermind this. And, I mean, I didn't. And, I mean, I know that all this looks bad and everything, but I didn't know what they went in and did that night.
All right, I'll go first on this one. The main thing that was established here for me, and for me personally is really important, is that Dr. Phil chews gum while he's on TV and he knows he's on video. Doesn't bug him a bit. With you, Dr. Phil. I don't think she understood the question. Again, this is one of those intellectual miniatures we're dealing with here. Had no earthly idea what that meant, not whatsoever. So she goes back to her baseline of just talking and trying to talk her way through it. And she's talking quiet, and she tries to get through it. It gets worse and worse. I think it goes a little sideways on her because she starts talking about things that have nothing to do with what he asked her. So I think it's a great example of showing how she fakes her way through answers. So, Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree. I saw That's a learned behavior to do something other people do when they're having a stressful answer to a question, because she's not stressed. Her breathing is not up. Her blink rate's not up. None of that stuff we expect in fight or flight. So I would look. She swallows once. Maybe she's thinking. And then she does the one thing that makes me think there's a lot of facade here. The reason she says, I think we've established that I did know.
I mean, I think we've established I did know.
And she says it, all of her body language, everything is fluid, unlike anything else in the video. My guess is that's the person that her friends know. That's the person that people knew that she was not trying to kill. It's normal intonation. It's kind of congruent body language. It's just a normal kind of a sentence in the middle of all this other stuff we're looking at. I didn't mean, she closed her eyes. Again, Scott, I agree with you. I don't think this is a brilliant woman. I don't think she has any clue what he's talking about. I think he knows that. He's sitting across the table, and he's trying to get through to her and say, do you understand that? And then she goes to something about her dad, and her dad's sweeping it under the rug, and it's Tuesday, and I like hamburgers, and it's not chaff and redirect, it's conversation. So I don't think we're dealing with somebody who really has their act together, but I also think that that line shows us that there's something else to her that we can't see in this interview. That's what I got. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, totally agree with you guys. I think Phil does exactly the right thing here, according to me anyway, by redirecting his approach to a directive, commanding approach. So he's no longer asking questions. He's saying, tell me this. So there was no question. There was a command. That was and kind of an order there for her. And within his little, let's call it a question to her, there was a technique I won't talk about. Takes too long to explain, but if you spotted it, put it in the comments. And it's not an interrogation technique. It's a persuasion technique that was used there. Phil matches her behavior perfectly as he's wrapping up this initial question of his. Her arms are under the table. His hands are animated while he's speaking. And right as he's for her to start answering, his hands go under the table. He assumes the same exact body posture as her. It is masterful. Pretty good approach there. And when we're talking about her forcing these words out, Greg, what was that word you came up with?
Yeah, no, I said we should use Gollum from Lord of the Rings with the coughing out words.
Yeah. So when she's golluming, she does it with the word mastermind. She forces that word out, mastermind.
Do not mastermind this.
And we see she's more comfortable with the denial when she's quoting someone else.
So he says, my daughter did not mastermind this. And I mean, I didn't.
So where would we see this? She develops this psychological process throughout her life. She uses power by proxy, and now she's using denial by proxy. So if someone else is saying it, it becomes more powerful. I'm letting someone else take that away. So she's using proxy in multiple different ways here, in her language and in her behavior. Dr. Phil closes out the clip with a brilliant, full open arm display. So right as the clip is ending, you can see him do this to kind of get her probably to keep talking there, even though we cut that out. I'll wrap up with a hallmark psychopathic trait. And this is impulsivity. When you hear somebody just say, it just happened, which we did. So impulsivity is one of the hallmarks in the diagnostic manual. Mark?
There's a bitter taste in her mouth.
I did know.
So I think she's slightly disgusted with herself. So I think there's slight disgust at she has now gone down the road of like admitting that she has been caught in this. Still plenty of innocent child role there with I didn't. We hear her first metaphor, which is sweeping under the rug. But again, that metaphor is to do with someone else. So it's not a metaphor about her feelings. It's a metaphor about somebody else's feelings. And to Scott's point there of, maybe she's didn't understand the question so well. Well, that's probably because Dr. Phil did perceptual positioning there. He said, what do you think I mean when I say X? Well, that means that you've got to kind of take their position and go, okay, imagine I'm Dr. Phil. What do I think he would be thinking right now? That perceptual positioning is part of what we call cognitive empathy, being able to go, well, there's me and I'm different from Dr. Phil, and Dr. Phil might think differently, and so I'm going to become them and take their position. She can't do that. She can't. There's just her. There's just her, and there isn't other people's feelings. He didn't even ask for a feeling. He was just like, what do you think I'm thinking when I say this? Not even asking, what do you think I feel? And the step up from that in empathy would be, what do you think I think about my feelings? Well, that's kind of what a therapist does when they sit with you, is to go, I think you might be feeling, about yourself like this. That is a huge level of abstraction. And this particular personality type, though I don't know, what it shows up in the DSM and what they might kind of rank it as in there. They often have quite a difficulty with abstract thoughts. It's very much process driven. Here's what's happening to me right now, and perceptual positioning is really hard to do. That's what I got on that one for you.
Tell me what you think I mean when I say, if you don't come clean and be completely honest, that you're never going to heal from this and that your father's never going to heal from it.
People say my dad just wants to brush things under the rug, so to speak, and say that, his daughter didn't know nothing about this. And that's, I think we've established I did know. But, he says, my daughter did not mastermind this. And, I didn't. And, I know that all this looks bad and everything, but I didn't know what they went in and did that night.
Did you mastermind this crime? Were you the motivating force behind this happening? If not the motivating force, a motivating force.
I'll probably add fuel to the fire.
You wanted them dead. Tell me what you're thinking.
I wasn't thinking that night. I wasn't like mad at them or anything like that. I feel like it just happened.
You got tired of them bickering and said, just do it. Is that true? I'm sorry?
Yes.
Mark, what do you got?
Yeah. Okay. What have I got? Okay, so here's what I think is happening here, and I kind of really feel for Dr. Phil here because he's got 60 minutes to get something happening here. And look, I think the narrative that we want as an audience is the one that we see on TV in films, whereby she is going to crumble and start into an emotional rendition of why she did what she did and the emotions that were involved with that. So there's some kind of catharsis at the end of this. And she hasn't got that. She hasn't got that. She says herself, it just happened. And she tries to approximate some emotion to go with that, but it really isn't there. For her, the event comes, it comes right up close. She does the murders and then they're kind of over. And that was really kind of exciting. And now it's the next thing that's going on. There isn't any grand emotions around this. And I think what Dr. Phil has to kind of do is fill it in a bit for us as the audience and go, okay, so they were bickering and you'd had enough. And it's like, no, she doesn't seem to be saying that. She seems to be saying, no, it just happened, and I'll do my best to give you some kind of feeling to go with this, but I don't think she has it. So I totally feel for the entertainment of this situation, though, as Scott was just saying, it's an awful situation. But entertainment is always created around these awful situations because it's kind of useful. Forearmed or forewarned helps us. That's why we do this show with you all, because, you know, some of you will get some kind of forewarning, forearmed of stuff that might come your way. Hope it never does. In fact, in this case, this is so rare. You're never going to meet this kind of situation apart from watching it right now with us, so you don't need to worry too much about that. Greg, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one because I do think she shows her true face here. It starts off, she's walking through, and Dr. Phil does a pretty artful thing here. Yeah, you're right, whether there's time limit or whatever, he starts off with an outright accusation. You caused this, you did this. Then, well, no, did you motivate them to do it? No. Were you one of the motivators? Now he's got her to admit something. And what he's doing is a cascading scale of guilt to at least get her to say something. And my assumption is he's going to build her back up to what she actually did. So he says, oh, then he got her to say, well, you did this. Well, then you take it the next step back up. And that's cascading confession. You work them down and you work them back. Now, could you give him bad information in there? Probably you could, but he's not. He's giving her everything he's got when she finally says something. And there is a crack in all this facade. That is a smile. If I have ever seen anything that creeps me the hell out, that would do it right there. Through all this stuff, no smile, but then kind of a little smile right in the middle of all that. She does then go into some blink rate increase at motivation. I was the fuel on the fire. And all of that stuff that you see in her face, those downsides and the raised brows, are about her to me. There's not a thing in here about the family. It's about Dr. Phil thinks I'm a bad person now, and my facade is cracked. He saw my smile, and that's what I got. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, man. There's no denial. There's no strong, confident, positive denial here.
Whimper of denial.
Yeah. Tiny head shakes are super unusual. I've been doing this a long time. I've never seen anything like this in anybody who's over the age of probably 8 do anything like this. So we are seeing some big time regression. So I think that smile occurs right after Phil says, you wanted them dead.
You wanted them dead. Tell me what you're thinking.
And I think the smile may be suggestive of her desire to say, I wanted something and I made it happen. And I did it. I got it done. Mm-hmm. I want you to watch how fast after Dr. Phil says, is that true?
You got tired of them bickering and said, just do it. Is that true?
Her face goes from an emotional girl who she's playing in that moment to a stone cold monster. You can see the shift happen right here on your phone, iPad, whatever screen we're watching. You can see that transformation right after he says, is that true? Watch her face change. And that scared me. I was up here this morning at like 5 o'clock by myself. I had to go turn the lights on. That was a strange shift. And let's go with our final hallmark here. We already talked about the prone to impulsivity. When she says in this video, it just happened. It just happened. That's all it was. So next is the need for stimulation and prone to boredom. So I think we're seeing this in her overall personality, how she grew up, and the way that she lived her life. Outside of these videos, you're seeing a lot of evidence of that too. So there's a whole lot of evidence here to support that a professional might be able to make some kind of diagnosis. I don't think any of us give a crap about any professional diagnosis. This is what we see. There's a book that tells you what to look at. Pretty basic. Mark?
No, I've been.
Yeah.
That's me.
Scott. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no. This is another example, like we've seen the whole way. Her baseline is just shutting down at the top of that when he starts talking to her, and it's the more dangerous the question, the more silent she gets, the more she starts closing off and turning off. And this shows her guilt beyond a shadow of a doubt, to me anyway. As you said, I probably added fuel to the fire. Again, from your hallmark earlier, Chase, she's not accepting responsibility for what she did there. She was part of it, but she wasn't the mastermind or instigator of it. She comes on. And again, that's narcissistic behavior we tendency in psychopaths. When he says, tell me what you're thinking.
Tell me what you're thinking.
I agree with you guys. I think she's trying to hold back that emotion she's almost giddy with it as it jumps out, as she would with those people she was with when it happened. What'd you do? And I did that. So I killed him or whatever. That's what I really believe that's what we're seeing there. It's not even Duper's delight. It's just full on trying to hold back a smile. That's when I said, holy smokes, I was right at the very top. This is a monster that's sitting in there. And that's what that is. That's what she is. Being able to do that to her family and those little children like that, and having someone come in and do it, and she's outside and then watching the house burn too. Man, that's hardcore, So I think I agree with you guys. That's a dang monster we're looking at right there. No doubt about it. So that's what I got. We good?
Did you mastermind this crime? Were you the motivating force behind this happening? If not the motivating force, a motivating force.
I'll probably add fuel to the fire.
You wanted them dead. Tell me what you're thinking.
I wasn't thinking that night. I wasn't like mad at them or anything like that. I feel like it just happened.
You got tired of them bickering and said, just do it. Is that true? I'm sorry?
Yes.